It's very interesting because we have one mission and SME is just part of that. And we call this Fintech enablement, which I think sounds sometimes very abstract, but Fintech enablement is basically about allowing every organization on earth launch the financial products that they want on the channels that they want, targeted to the persons they want to target. And in turn, it means for everybody, individuals, firms, SME included, to have access to those kind of products. That's what the true Fintech enablement is about. I think it's funny because, you talk about SME as if it were a category. And one thing in the panel was clear is that, well, the thing that SMEs have in common is that they have very little in common. There are very small businesses, very large businesses. There are services companies, production companies, distribution companies. They have very different business models. And that's why it's very complicated to find a data model that allows for rule-based financing, as you have for individuals. And it's impossible to allocate, because they are not large enough, the human resources to do a full analysis of the business model and the finances in order to figure out what would be their risk profile. And for that reason, what you're actually doing, you're carving out just segments, like one particular, let's say, farmers or physicians or small companies that are doing online commerce with merchandise. And you basically carve those out and you identify a certain set of rules, and against that segment you have a solution. Or maybe it's just about communities of certain interest. Maybe it's minorities. Maybe it's something else. And this is what the industry has been able to do, to take individual segments and provide the best journey and the best product for those segments. Now, in order to do that, the smaller the segment gets, the less expensive or the easiest adjustment of an existing product in order to match that particular segment you need. And that can only be done with technology, because you can't really start building from scratch a product and the journey and the data structure that targets a group of 100 or even sometimes 50,000 entities, because the money isn't there. So the technology allows us basically to make sense of the data and to provide a flexible enough journey and a flexible enough product in order to target what is needed for these particular clients. And we have an amazing track record in that with the technology, not only us in FintechOS, but generally the industry. Well, there is one thing about the financial institutions: they have the money. And then everything needs to be somehow linked back to the origin of money, linked back to where the most important sources of finances are. And that means, and it's funny because for the larger banks, if you're on the larger of the financial institutions that we're talking about, for them, they have also realized that there is a limit to how much they can sell through their own apps or through their website or through their branches. And especially for highly targeted products like the SME products, the answer is always in embedded finance. The answer is always in partnerships with the distribution. And that partnership with the distribution can only be facilitated with technology in order to have the necessary throughput and the necessary efficiency. So in a way, we're finally at the stage where technology is productive enough in order to make sense of this jam in the sandwich, if you want, to connect the originator of financial products, which are basically banks, through distribution channels, be them retailers, non-banking financial institutions, unsecured lending solutions, fintech providers, sometimes insurance players or other places in the ecosystem, into something that is coherent, targets the final customer, is embedded, is open, can connect into something else, and is connected into something else. And that is, if you want, finally, an infrastructure that is being built. And we have built only so little out of it. So the universe, the future is bright and gives us lots of possibility to build further. One thing I have already touched upon, and this is about, embedding more and more complex financial products, and perhaps not only financial products. We are shifting from embedded fintech into embedded finance into embedded everything. So in this everything, you have marketing services, you have perhaps legal support, you have definitely insurance, which is also a financial service. You have mixed products that have not been there before. Several levels of consulting. You have pipeline management, you have supply chain solutions. All that tends to be now integrated into an ever-evolving, complex solution that is composable and decomposable and can actually target the final consumer, can target the final audience, the final SME audience in this case, rightfully. So I think this is one trend, and the trend is about ecosystems. So you actually build ecosystems that facilitate the making of complex ecosystems that work. There was that thing with simplicity is the ultimate sophistication, that you can bring simplicity in very complex infrastructures. And that's about managing ecosystems. And that's probably the most important trend that we are betting on right now. And then it's 2023, and you can't ignore AI and the contribution that AI has in this particular space. And we are looking at two categories of AI. One is a bit more traditional, and that is about the machine learning, is about making sense of the data and having the predictive analytics that give you the next best buy, the next advice, the next something. And the other one is conversational. And that is, if you want, on the size of the Gen AI, on how to make sense of complex data into stories and how those stories are actually being our life stories. And this is something where, if you want, if the first is uncontested at this moment, for the second, even if you're looking at the major players in the industry, there is still a lot of debate around ethical and legal issues on how far can we actually push and make this part of such a sensitive part of our life as the financial system, and how perhaps maybe they can be vulnerable if you go too far on that route. We are still having that debate. I think we hear it from a lot of our customers, but I'm pretty sure that there is a lot of room in targeting the customers, in addressing their needs, in building our internal processes, in building our clients' internal processes, where we see a whole new level of productivity that is being facilitated by the advent of artificial intelligence in 2023 and beyond.